Guess what, you guys? I have great news. It's spring now. Woo! Spring is a really cool season. It's starting to get a little bit warmer. It's raining more. And things are starting to grow more. Do you know what season is before spring? That's right, winter. Winter, then spring. I actually have a spring book for you guys today. I'll show it to you. See? This book is called Fletcher and the Springtime Blossoms, because in the spring, the blossoms come, the flowers come. So this is Fletcher. Fletcher is a fox. And Fletcher sees something white and fluffy coming from the sky. What is white and fluffy and comes from the sky? Snow? But it's supposed to be spring. There shouldn't be any snow in the spring. Well, let's see what happens with Fletcher. Fletcher and the Springtime Blossoms. The woods were full of chirping, bustling, sing-song sounds of spring. Fletcher bounced along with his nose in the air, sniffing the just burst buds of flowers and playing chase with the butterflies, with his head spinning with sights and sounds. It looks like Fletcher's having fun playing in the spring. He tumbled happily down the hill into the sunny orchard, but then he picked himself up from the ground. He couldn't believe his eyes. I wonder what Fletcher saw. A soft breeze danced through the branches, carrying snowy flakes. Snow so late in spring, thought Fletcher. It will be too cold for the buds and the butterflies. There's no time to lose. Fletcher sounds concerned for the butterflies and the buds, the flowers, because Fletcher knows that the butterflies and the buds, they don't like it when it's that cold, when it snows. It's not good for them. Let's see what he does. Looking for someone to tell, he trotted back up the hill and passed a pair of birds cooing on a branch. Coo, coo. Oh, you've flown to your summer home too soon, said Fletcher. I've been down to the orchard, and there's more snow on the way. Then we should fly back south, they called. But first, we must tell Porcupine. He's just come out of his bed of leaves, and he needs to snuggle back down or he'll freeze. See, Fletcher was very concerned about the birds, too. I bet he told the birds that it was snowy because he was worried about them. He was concerned for them. A lot of birds will fly south. They'll fly someplace that it's warmer when it's cold out because they don't want to be cold. They fly someplace that it's warmer. But these birds, they had been someplace warmer and they flew back because they thought that the weather was warm now. They didn't realize that it was going to be snowy. So Fletcher told them that they should probably fly back to the warm place. But they said first, before they fly back to the warm place, they want to warn the porcupine. I bet you that they're concerned for the porcupine. They want to make sure that the porcupine stays warm. I bet that that's why they want to tell him. Fletcher and the birds found Porcupine stretching and scratching. "There's snow on the way," panted Fletcher. "I saw it in the orchard. It'll be too cold for the butterflies. The birds will need to fly south, and you must hide away." "Then I should crawl back into my bed," snuffled Porcupine sadly. "But first, we must tell Squirrel that he needs to hunt for food. He's eaten his winter store of nuts. He'll need to find more." So they warned Porcupine, and Porcupine said that he was going to go back into his nice warm bed of leaves until it got warmer. But first, he wanted to warn Mr. Squirrel, because he knew that Squirrel had already eaten all of his food that he had saved up for the winter. I bet that he was concerned for Mr. Squirrel. He was worried about Mr. Squirrel because he wanted to warn him that it was still snowy out. Fletcher, the birds, and Porcupine found Squirrel scampering after sunbeams. He was scampering. He was like running after them quickly. "Snow is blowing in the orchard," gasped Fletcher. "It will be too cold for the butterflies. The birds need to fly south," said Porcupine. "You're right. I've eaten my spring feast," said Squirrel, "and all my stores are gone. But before I hunt for more, we need to tell the rabbit so he can munch on grass before the snow falls." Fletcher, the birds, Porcupine, and Squirrel hurried off again. So they warned the Squirrel, and the Squirrel, I think he was grateful that they warned him, because the Squirrel said that he had eaten all of his nuts that he had stored up for cold weather. And if it was going to be winter again, if it was going to be cold again, he needed to find more nuts so that he had food to eat. So I bet that the Squirrel was very appreciative that they told him that the snow was coming. But he said that he wanted to warn the bunnies. That way the bunnies knew that they had to eat up grass before the snow fell on the grass and they couldn't eat it. The rabbits were rolling down the hill next to their burrow. "Stop playing," cried Fletcher. "There's snow blowing in from the orchard. It will be too cold for the butterflies. The birds will need to fly south. Poor Porcupine must go back to bed, and Squirrel needs to find food. And you must munch more grass." "Before we eat," said the rabbits, staggering dizzily to their feet, "let's go and play in the snow." Oh, see, they didn't really seem concerned about eating. They wanted to go play in the snow instead. Those silly, playful rabbits. So the rabbits hippity-hoppity, rollity-polity down the hill, through the woods. They were chased by Squirrel, Porcupine, the birds, and a bouncy, full of importance fox, all the way to the orchard, where the ground was white. See? The rabbits wanted to go play in the snow, and so they ran off, and all the other animals followed along beside them. And then they saw something white on the ground. It was white with blossoms. Blossoms bobbing in the branches, blossoms blowing in the breeze, blossoms blanketing the ground, and not a snowflake to be found. Those are blossoms, not snow, you foolish fox, the animals cried. Fletcher blinked and rubbed his eyes, feeling very silly. But then the animals scooped up pawfuls and clawfuls of blossoms from the ground and covered him in a tickly shower of fluttering white petals. Fletcher and his friends ran and played between the trees until at last they all collapsed in a blossomy, soft, white heap. See, was it really snow that they had seen? No, it was blossoms. They were white blossoms. They did look like snow. I bet that Fletcher really did think they were snow. But they were just blossoms. They were flowers. But I bet that the animals weren't upset with Fletcher because it looks like they were having fun. They were throwing the blossoms on Fletcher and they were playing with him and tickling him. So I don't think that they were upset with Fletcher. Then the birds fluttered back to the branch with beakfuls of blossoms to line their nests. See, they used the blossoms in their nests. Porcupine snuffled off up the slope, his quills dotted with tiny white petals. Squirrel went chasing up and down trees after white snow petals, dancing in the breeze. See, Squirrel was chasing the little petals, the flower petals. And the rabbits bounced back up the hill with blossoms to brighten their burrow. See, they were taking blossoms with them so they could put it in their burrow in their home. But Fletcher just lay smiling in his soft bed of petals, watching the blossoming branches booming overhead. I bet that he liked looking at the blossoms and watching them because he was smiling, so I bet he was enjoying that. Those are some pretty blossoms. Well, that was a really fun book. I hope that you are enjoying this nice spring day too.